love. Going on a trip. If you get enlightened, 1, divine accident. Divine accident. 2, because nobody wants to get woke. Nobody wants to get woke. Because nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to be woke, but nobody wants to die. Here's a direct quote from Michael Jackson to describe how he feels when he's dancing. I become the stars and the moon. I become the lover and the beloved. I become the master and the slave. I become the singer and the song. I become the knower and the known. I keep on dancing, then it is the eternal dance of creation. The creator and creation merge into one wholeness of joy. I keep on dancing and dancing and dancing until there is only the dance. Enlightenment is just like that, except it's 24/7. And if you replace dance with the universe, or actually with nothingness, that's what it feels like. 先生，请问一下，你知道这边附近哪里有卖寿司？这边附近有卖寿司吗？旋转寿司，不知道。好，没关系，拜拜。Nice shoes. He's got nice shoes. He's got nice shoes. Someone asked me today, Osho said that awareness and consciousness are antithesis to awakening. So does that mean that practicing mindfulness is detrimental? Does that mean you can't concentrate anymore after you get enlightened? Good question. The more you can expand to infinite space, to infinity, to 360 hologram, to emptiness, the more you can zoom in and contract into a laser beam. So doing Vipassana, when you are just dissecting and dissolving sensations into particles and atoms and eventually into empty space, you're gonna end up in the same spot as doing Dzogchen or doing the awareness practice where you become infinity. They're the same thing. The more you can expand, the more you can contract. It's like a rubber band. Just like doing becoming a good sprinter. You can't be too bulky. You can't just do squats and put on too much muscle. You have to change that muscle, that strength into power by incorporating speed work, by doing plyometrics and sprints. Same thing. See, before awakening, even when I was passionate about the violin, I would get bored after practicing for 30 minutes. Nowadays, I can practice now for 2 hours without looking at the clock, because there's no time and space in my perception anymore. Everything that you try to accomplish with art, philosophy, and fitness, or the highs you're trying to get, or the connection with the universe, or the flow state you're trying to get. In fact, the sole reason why people do anything at all, like take drugs and have sex and have orgasms and spend billions of dollars on entertainment, is because they want to get out of the head. Why not just get woke and go beyond the mind for once and for all? It's like God might coming 24/7. It feels like you created the entire universe while the universe is creating you. Now what happens when you still have a solidity, even just an atom of it in the center, while accessing Brahman or God consciousness or infinity, is that you're still going to be a subject in the middle, perceiving the object of God consciousness. You can just tell by the people, their eyes, the way their eyes move and the way they bounce out of the spontaneity of emptiness. Just like a jazz musician can tell if another jazz musician is totally in the flow state, dancing with the source as the source. Now again, too much mindfulness will solidify the watcher, the witness, the observer. When both the observer and the mind are both empty. The observer is just a more subtle form of quote-unquote ego. Too much spaciousness, too much Dzogchen practice without dissolving every single speck of solidity. What does that result in? It feels like you're in the headless way. The headless way practice, the headless way meditation. You access that, you glimpsed it, but there's still a person here walking around in this immovable, eternal diamond of Godhead. You're still gonna suffer within this Godhead as a human being. Now, what happens when you are abiding in both absolute nothingness and absolute infinity? Both the Brahman of Atman, of true self, and the emptiness, the anatta, the no-self of Buddhism. They're the same thing. When you abide in both, no words can describe it. Here's an analogy. Imagine having a near-death experience, or an out-of-body experience, or astral projection, 24/7, but you're not even floating. Because if you're floating as consciousness during a near-death experience, there's still separation there. That's why when I watched the Netflix documentary about near-death experiences, all those people that have a near-death experience, they say, I don't want to come back. I'm loving the fractals of DMT love. But they still came back to their body eventually. Why? Because they're still holding on to consciousness. They're still holding on to existence. You gotta let go of even existence and be in a space where neither existence nor non-existence occur. Okay? In that space, who cares if you're mindful or not? In that space, who cares what is consciousness? What is God mind? What is emptiness? Hello, 你好. I am good. How are you? So, the only thing you need to do to point out to be fully and instantly enlightened is the fact that awareness has always been fully awake at all times, 24/7 for everybody. The Buddha nature is fully luminous. Even the air, the spaces between objects are as empty and full as the objects themselves. And again, most importantly, totally self-aware, right? The other thing I need to point out is the dualness of the mind, that the solidification of sensations that are covering up and obscuring the Christ consciousness or Buddha mind. And the solidity of sensations could be anything from the witness, the observer, to the meditator, or thoughts, sound, conditionings. And here's the tricky part. It's hard to dissolve delusions with delusions. All they ultimately they are the same. Nirvana is samkhara. Form and emptiness are identical. But before at least a very deep awakening, when you're still completely stuck in the head and you do vipassana or mindfulness, it's not going to be very useful. It's much more efficient to dissolve the solidity of sensations from the perspective of non-dual awareness. That's why practicing mindfulness or vipassana while sitting on Rigpa or the ground of being or infinite consciousness is infinite times more efficient. Chula-dosa, unified mindfulness, Shi Jin Yang. Both of them try to combine both the Atman, the true self of Hinduism, with emptiness of Buddhism. Chula-dosa said perfect mindfulness is 50% concentration where you can zoom in your attention, while at the same time you are supposed to have a peripheral awareness that is aware of the 360 degrees non-dual awareness in the background. The perfect blend of both to Chula-dosa is perfect mindfulness. But that's still mindfulness. At the final stage, you let go of even consciousness, because why? Your entire reality is made up of sensations. Your sensate reality, that's all you have. And each sensation, the moment it arises, is the moment it vanishes. So each sensation actually gives this kind of this shape, like expansion and contraction simultaneously, that this shapes. And that expansion and contraction process is what's giving rise, giving birth to all the particular sensations simultaneously. And it's the same thing that's giving rise to the present moment. because the past and the future are contracting and expanding to give rise, give birth to the present, and you can extend this process activity to the birth of a star and the atom. But I don't like going that far. I just like to go with my direct experience. But Xu Yang said this acute microscopic observation of a sensation arises is the moment it vanishes is very crucial, because people only notice this when a sensation rises. They never notice the moment it passes. And to experience a witness each sensation vanishing is like a micro cessation, but you don't blink out of existence. And a little bigger medium cessation is when your entire sense of self disappears and vanishes, because the self is just a collection of sensations bundled up together. But when your entire sensory reality, your entire universe disappears, when there's no consciousness at all, not even the God mind, and then reappears again, when reality gets reconstructed particle by particles in an instant again, that gives rise to awakening. That's a macro cessation or nibbana. The two are different only in degrees. That's why noticing the vanishing of each individual sensation is so important. But notice the sensations, big or small, arise and vanish simultaneously, like this wave that I talked about earlier. That takes super deep awakening. And it's interesting because before my enlightenment, I was doing that practice, expansion and contraction simultaneously. Is consciousness produced by the brain, or is the brain inside consciousness and fabricated by consciousness? That's, the fundamental makeup of the universe. Again, from a direct experience point of view, which is the only thing I know or anyone knows, the brain, the mind, the world are not just inside consciousness, but made of consciousness with no distinction at all, not the other way around. But also the other way around. Again, we don't want to take sides. Half of the artists that you like are very close to enlightenment. They're looking for enlightenment. They're at the edge of their mind, but they can't transcend it. They can't take the quantum leap over it. Michael Jackson, Kanye West, Van Gogh, Monet, Beethoven, all of them. Nietzsche, Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, to name a few, Sartre, Heidegger. All those beings in the West, they were all at the edge of their mind, suffering even more. You have to take the quantum leap over the mind, but they're at the edge of it because they don't have the proper tools, techniques like we do now with the internet. The trajectory of the mind is towards enlightenment no matter what. If given enough time, everybody on this planet, if given eternity, everybody will reach enlightenment. 你好，请问你知道这边附近哪里有卖寿司？旋转寿司、寿司之类的。sushi 哦 sushi 对，寿司对寿司。那 7有没有？前面有一间7。哦，我不要7，我要好吃的旋转寿司那种啊，真鲜有没有？有没有？你也不知道。这里有一段距离。有段距离。没关系的。要我帮你拍吗？不用。David Lynch is another example. I started meditation because of David Lynch, because I was a huge fan of Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet. That's why I took transcendental meditation classes. That was my first taste in meditation. David Lynch said in an interview that his goal in life isn't to make movies, it's supreme enlightenment. And he said that he's on the path. He's not there yet, but this path is beautiful, he says. And he said that once you're there, 100% supreme enlightenment, the unmanifested and the manifested become one and both are irrelevant. He gets it intellectually. But if he wasn't stuck in the TM, the transcendental meditation paradigm, given his enlightenment genetics, the way that he perceives the world, he could get enlightened in like a couple of years if he knows the right, more direct techniques. But 99% of the seekers are still standing on the ground. For David Lynch, it's TM. Total acceptance of your mortality. That's why I say 99% of the people that are on the spiritual path don't really want to wake up. They want to preserve that 1%, that one particle to be alive so they can pretend to play the spiritual role, to be the enlightened seeker. Awakening is an accident, but practice makes you more accident prone. So you still have to practice.